It's interesting how the word charge has the following meanings. Charge meaning you charge, right? You feed, and charge meaning being in charge, right? Being in power, having the responsibility. And so it does coincide, you know, when you're in charging of something, there is consciousness to it, right? There is intentionality to it. There is the recognition that the power is in your hands, and it's up to you which to charge, which to feed, which you invest your energy or focus onto, or which you give way to, which you allow to be at the forefront, which you employ. And so it coincides with being in charge, meaning you recognize your power, right? Your responsibility, and that it's up to you, right? You're empowered, the currency is in your hands. And that's the thing, for this to quote unquote to work, you have to be in the quote unquote position of charging, meaning there is this sort of maintaining of this circuitry, that you are in feeding of the whatever chosen broadcast or construct or frequency or idea, and allowing that to take the lead, you can say, to quote unquote do the work. It's like an employer and employee. The employer gives the space for the employee to do their work, right? To do their thing. The employer stays at their position, you could say, as the employer. Or let's say a machine, right? And you, as the user, you use the machine, and the machine is the one that does the work, right? You allow it to do the work. So it's maintaining, you can say, this circuitry, and you can say having the commitment to it, commitment to this, quote unquote relationship, to this circuitry, that you don't want to quote unquote invade the position of the other side, right? You don't want to colonize or trample upon or intrude upon the property, right, of the other side. Imagine a boat, and there are two people. The two people have to sit on each side or each end of the boat so that the boat will be afloat. If the two people are sat on the same side, well, then the boat will topple over, right? Or let's say the tray at a restaurant, and the waiter is holding multiple drinks. He can't just place all the drinks on one side. The tray will fall, will topple over. The glasses will have to be placed on each side of the tray so that there will be balance, so that there is this, you could say, stability. The quote unquote, the positions are complete, right? The circuitry is complete. So we can notice that when there is the constrictedness to one side, the natural, you can say, the natural orientation is seeking, needing to plug into something, needing to seek that which will make me whole and complete, needing to look for that which will do away with the lack that is sensed or that is experienced. It's sort of like one side of the coin is looking for the other side of the coin. But since there's the myopia to one side of the coin, it's as if there is lack. It's as if there is incompleteness. But only because you are myopia-fied to one side, to one part of the circuitry, right? And so there is this movement or seeking movement to want to plug into something, to seek for something or someone to attach or plug into, because there is the desire to complete the circuitry. There is that desire to form, you can say, a kind of relationship. Like imagine a box, and one is myopia-fied to that one box. Since it's just one box, you can say that there is no relationship. But when one steps back from that one box to a different position, quote unquote, then now there's the relationship, right? There is this, you can say, other box relating with the other box, right? There is now the circuitry. There's now the, you can say, completion of positions. And so thus then having the sense of stability. So again, using my previous analogy, the chess player and the pawn. When you are confined in the pawn, there is, that orientation of ego doership. And there's a sense of, you can say, disconnectedness, a sense of feeling vulnerable, feeling like you are at the mercy, of the external world. Basically, there is a lack, a lack of connectedness and wanting to attach or plug into something. But when the view gets expanded or the POV gets expanded, then we see that there's the player, there's a chess player and the pawn, right? That the player is connected to the pawn. There is using, right? There is using of the pawn. You're not the pawn, you are in using of the pawn. There is this kind of shifting of gears, The idea of retiring comes to mind. You know how that idea of retiring as you grow old exists in our society. When you grow old, you allow the younger people to work, right? And you are already retired. You don't do stuff anymore. The idea is that you have saved enough and you're only now, quote unquote, paying for people to do the job, right? You're just giving currency. Obviously, that's not the case for everyone, but that's the idea that comes to mind. You can say that emptiness is retired from non-emptiness, from content, from construct, from the doingness, you can say. Emptiness is empty. It doesn't get its hands dirty. It's not going in there, It's not injecting itself in content because it's emptiness. That is its quality. That is its quote unquote dimension, right? It's not gonna leave its spot of emptiness. It's not gonna leave its position of retirement, right? It doesn't go out there. It doesn't go in there in the Gladiator Arena. It just stays at the background. It's just like those spectators that are watching the gladiator match or something. They don't go in there themselves. They're not gonna go in there themselves. They maintain their position, right? Another concept that comes to mind is the idea or concept of unmixing. Imagine different components and they're all mixed together in this ball, right? It's chaos, it's static, it's not coherent. There is war, right? When one nation invades another nation or, creates war, creates destruction or whatever, there's this one side injecting themselves to the other side, right? There is the mixing, there's chaos. It creates static. And so when you unmix, there's now clarity. There's now the allowing of both sides. And both sides can now have a relationship. Not this, but this. And there's the, you can say, circuitry or relationship that forms between the two. There's now the respecting, respecting of the place of the other, of the isness of the other. And so, yeah, it is how we treat, right? Our treatment or relating is the effect that we get. If we treat something in this colonizing, squashing movement, then that's also the experience we get. Compressed, right? Collapsed, myopiafied, constricted. If we respect the isness or fullness, the yesness of something, then we get to enjoy the yesness of it, the isness of it. We are in celebration of its property, of its quality, of its isness. And this is another word that's interesting, the word treating. The word treat also has this other meaning of like treating someone, right? When you treat someone to a dinner or to lunch, you treat them, right? In celebration of them. It's like, you treat them, right? You give your currency. There is the, you can say, appreciation or celebration for them, for their presence, for their isness, right? There is the valuing, right? And so again, it coincides. Also, what's interesting about these pointers is that it can be described in a different way. I'm talking about this as if it's not yet the case, right? It's as if you have to unmerge yourself. You have to uncompress. You have to unmix. You have to cease the colonization, right? From going from here to here, as if the expanded, configuration is still not yet the case. It's one way to describe it, or it's an angle, it's a perspective. Like, let's say if you view a stack of plates from the top, it's a view, right? You see just one round thing. But if you view the stack of plates to the side, then you see that it's a stack of plates, right? It's the same thing, but from a different angle, from a different perspective. So that's how it is with spiritual pointers. It's describing from different perspective or different angle. And if you describe from this perspective, it can seem like it's different, but it's the same thing. But of course, the angle is different. And so a different way to look at this or to describe this is that it's already the case. The true nature quality is already the base, the case. That desired orientation is already the case. And it's just a matter of where you direct it. For example, being in charge, right? Being in power, it's already the case. It's just that when we feel disempowered or victimized or small, we are using our power to give it away. But it's still us deciding, being in charge, right, of charging victimization or disempowerment. But empowerment is already the case. right? It's just that the power is used to charge or to feed or treat, you can say treat, victimization, you see. But the true nature quality of empowerment is the case. Or when there's a sense of lack, or there's the entertaining of the idea of lack, there is the quote unquote abundance of that idea, right? There is the non lack of lack or the experience of it. Or let's say confusion or non clarity. Well, then you are clear that you are confused. You are clear about that. Or when you say you're not confident, well, then you're confident that you're not confident. You see, the base or the foundation is always true nature quality. It's just that you're directing it at, you could say, an unpreferred quality or an unpreferred construct or broadcast, right? And so going back to charging, right? We're always in charging of something. Another way to look at it is that that's already the case. We're always already in charging of something. We're always and already in using or employing of something. It's just that when the experience is not of our preference, then you can say we are charging or employing that broadcast or that construct or that archetype. And it's up to how you want to see it. Some people like to see it in archetypal forms, and if it serves you, then it serves you. Right? So when there is this sense of victimization, then you can say that the case, in fact, is that you are charging or feeding or allowing, or giving stage to the victim archetype. Or when there's the sense of dissatisfaction or sense of like begrudging, begrudging and devaluing things, then you are in charging or in giving mileage, giving stage to the curmudgeon archetype, right? You're feeding that, you're in charging of the miserable curmudgeon archetype. Remember that emptiness remains empty. You can use archetypes in that way. Is that the archetypes is the one that plays on the stage. Is the one that contains the attributions, are the ones that contain the properties or the character or the attributes, right? How archetypes can be helpful is that when you become aware, is when you notice, right? When you notice that, oh, there's this sense of begrudging and dissatisfaction and disempowerment. Oh, at this time, I am giving power, giving currency to the curmudgeon, the devaluer, the begrudger. I'm giving currency to that archetype. I'm still in charge, right? I'm still the one charging. I'm deciding, I'm choosing to use or employ that archetype. And I now can decide to shift or empower or give way to you could say, the opposite archetype. Let's say the appreciator, that which is in appreciation and valuing, right? That which is open and full and whole. And it's up to you to decide to shift your currency into that instead. Nothing was lost. There is the recognition of this circuitry. It's not about like coming from black and I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do some kind of mental gymnastics or whatever. It's recognizing the already existing property or already existing idea or desired orientation, you can say, and being in using of that, recognizing the already isness of that, and allowing that to have the stage, to have its way, you know. That's why in some spiritual teachings or in some pointers, they tell you to get out of the way, get out of the way and let that, desired quality or fullness or wholeness to ease, to breathe, to to be. But that's the thing. Emptiness is already out of the way. It's always been out of the way. That's already the case. Again, emptiness remains empty. It's not gonna go in there. Emptiness cannot block anything. Emptiness is not gonna come out of its retirement. Emptiness is not gonna dive in there in the Gladiator Arena. It's already out of the way. It's already the case.